It was supposed to be just another ordinary night, nothing unusual, nothing worth remembering. My stepson had a friend over, someone who'd been around countless times before. The kind of kid you grow used to seeing in your house. Polite, charming, and always respectful. So when he stayed over that night, I didn't think twice about it. But that's the thing about life. Sometimes it's the moments you don't think twice about that end up changing everything. I keep telling myself it was harmless, that it didn't mean anything. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. Because what happened that night wasn't planned, it wasn't expected, and yet, it left a mark on me I can't erase. Even now, when I close my eyes, I can feel the weight of that secret pressing down on me. A mistake I wish I could take back, but one I'll never forget. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give this video a like. Your support helps us share more unforgettable, true life stories. And tell me, where are you watching from? I always love to see how far these stories travel and connect with people from all over the world. Looking back, I think the warning signs were always there, I just chose not to see them. My home life wasn't perfect. Far from it, actually. My husband and I had been together for years, but lately, things felt fractured. We spoke less, argued more, and somewhere along the way, the warmth between us faded into silence. The house felt bigger, emptier, lonelier. My stepson, though, he was my saving grace in many ways. He was still young, still living at home, and he had this way of filling the house with noise, with energy. He often brought his best friend over, too. I had known that boy for years, friendly, polite, always respectful. He'd come by after school, stay for dinner sometimes, and occasionally crash on the couch when it got too late. It was a routine I never thought twice about. But slowly, little things began to shift. My stepson's best friend wasn't a boy anymore. He was older now, grown, with confidence in the way he carried himself. He'd smile at me when he walked through the door, offer to help with groceries, or thank me for dinner in a way that felt different. I brushed it off, telling myself I was imagining it. He was just being kind. Nothing more. And yet, when the house was quiet, when it was just him and my stepson in the living room, I caught myself noticing the sound of his laugh, the way his voice had deepened, how he looked so much older than I remembered. I told myself it was harmless. After all, he was like family. I trusted him. I trusted myself, but that trust would turn into something else. It all began with one night. My stepson had gone to bed early, and his friend ended up staying over. Nothing unusual, nothing I hadn't seen before. Only, this time, the air felt heavier. Maybe it was the late hour, maybe it was the silence of the house, or maybe it was the way I was already carrying loneliness in my chest like a weight. Whatever it was, that night didn't feel like the others. Have you ever trusted someone too much, only to regret it later? That's where my story begins. That evening started out so normal, so ordinary, that I never could have guessed where it would lead. We all sat around the dinner table, laughing, telling little stories about school, about work. My stepson was in high spirits, cracking jokes, and his best friend fit right in, like he always did. I'd grown so used to having him around that he almost felt like part of the family. The conversation was easy, light. He teased my cooking, joking that I put too much love into the food because he couldn't stop eating. And the way he said it made everyone laugh. I laughed too, brushing it off as playful, harmless. But then there were the small moments. Moments I tried not to notice. Like the way his hand brushed mine when I passed him the dish, or how his eyes lingered a beat too long when I spoke. Just tiny things. So small that I told myself I was overthinking. He was just a polite young man, comfortable in my home. That's all. Still, those little things stayed with me. After dinner, the boys headed into the living room. They put on a movie, and I busied myself with cleaning up. Eventually, the night stretched on, and one by one, the house grew quiet. My Stepson drifted off to bed, leaving his friend still awake, sprawled casually on the couch. I thought about telling him to head to bed too, but instead, I found myself sitting down with him. Just for a moment, I told myself. Just a little late, night company before I turned in. At first, our conversation was harmless. We talked about school, about future plans, about silly memories from when he and my Stepson were younger. But the later it got, the deeper the conversation became. He started asking questions, personal ones, questions about me, about my life, about whether I was happy. I wasn't used to anyone asking me that anymore. My husband hardly noticed the little things these days, and here was this boy. No, this young man, looking at me like he really wanted to know the answer. And I answered him. One word led to another, and suddenly I found myself telling him things I hadn't said out loud in years. About my loneliness, about the silence in my marriage, about how sometimes I felt invisible in my own home. He listened, really listened. His eyes didn't drift. His phone wasn't in his hand. He was just there, focused, present. And that did something to me I can't fully explain. The silence between our words grew heavier, charged in a way that made me uneasy. His gaze lingered again. And this time, I couldn't tell myself I was imagining it. There was something unspoken in the air, and I felt it pressing down on me with every second that passed. Looking back now, I should have ended the conversation right there. I should have said goodnight, turned off the lights, and walked away. But I didn't. Instead, I let the silence stretch. I let the questions keep coming. And I stayed. What would you have done in my shoes? Ended the talk, or let it go on? The clock ticked past midnight, then 1. The house was silent, except for our voices, low, careful, almost secretive. My Stepson was asleep upstairs, completely unaware of what was happening right under his roof. I don't even remember the exact moment when the tone of our talk shifted, but I felt it. 1 second we were just talking, the next, there was a weight behind his words. His voice softened, slower, like every sentence was holding back something unsaid. And then it happened. He looked at me, steady, without even blinking, and asked, "Are you happy here? I mean with him. With this life?" My stomach tightened. That wasn't a question a boy should be asking his friend's stepmom. But it wasn't the question that scared me. It was the way he asked it, like he already knew the answer. I froze. I wanted to laugh it off, change the subject, remind him of boundaries. But the truth? I couldn't. because a part of me had been waiting for someone, anyone, to notice how unhappy I'd been. I whispered something vague, trying not to reveal too much. Life's complicated sometimes. That's when he leaned just a little closer. Not enough to touch me, but close enough that I felt it. "You deserve better," he said quietly. "You deserve to feel seen." Those words, they shook me. Not because they were bold, but because they were everything I'd been longing to hear. From my husband. From someone. From anyone. I should have stood up right then. Walked away. Put a stop to it before it went any further. But I didn't. I just sat there, caught between the voice in my head screaming, "This is wrong," and the part of me that craved the attention. The silence between us stretched, heavy and unbreakable. His eyes never left mine, and I knew that if I didn't say something, he would. And he did. "I've thought about this before," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Being here with you. I know I shouldn't, but I can't help it." My breath caught. My heart was pounding so loudly I was sure the whole house could hear it. What was I supposed to say to that? I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Because part of me wanted to scold him, to remind him that he was crossing a line, but another part of me couldn't deny what I was feeling too. I stayed silent. Would you have pulled away or stayed quiet like I did? That moment felt like it lasted forever. And in that silence, something changed between us. Something that can never be undone. Because after that night, nothing about the way I looked at him, or the way he looked at me, was ever the same again. The next morning should have been ordinary. But it felt anything but that. I remember waking up with this heaviness in my chest, like the air itself had turned thick overnight. My stepson's laughter drifted from the kitchen, carefree and light. And for a moment, I almost wished I could slip into his innocence and pretend nothing had happened. Pretend that the night before was just a dream I could brush away with the sunlight. But reality was sitting across from me at the breakfast table. His best friend. He looked so calm, so casual, laughing at a joke, reaching for the cereal, thanking me politely when I passed the milk. To anyone watching, he was just another guest finishing breakfast after a sleepover. But to me, every small glance, every flicker of a smile carried a weight that only the two of us could feel. And that was the part that terrified me most. Because my stepson, sitting only a few feet away, had no idea. He was completely blind to the tension hanging silently between me and his best friend. One innocent glance from him, one casual question, and I felt like everything would spill out. My heart pounded so loudly in my chest that I was sure someone would hear it. I kept my head down, focusing on my plate, forcing my hands not to shake as I lifted my coffee. But then it happened. Just for a second, he caught my eye. His smile was faint, almost invisible to anyone else, but I saw it. A smile that whispered, "We share something now, something no one else knows." And in that moment, the guilt hit me harder than ever. I told myself nothing had really happened. That it was just a conversation, just words. But the truth was, something had shifted. A boundary I should have protected had been crossed. Not with actions, but with silence. With feelings left unspoken but understood. And somehow that felt worse. Because once you cross a line like that, there's no going back. The rest of the morning passed in a blur. My stepson chatted about his plans for the day, while I nodded and smiled in all the right places, my stomach twisting with every word. His friend kept his cool effortlessly, as though he had practiced hiding secrets all his life. When they finally left the kitchen, I was left alone with the echo of their footsteps and the hollow ache of my own thoughts. I leaned against the counter, staring at the half-empty mugs and cereal bowls, my chest tightening. The guilt wasn't just a passing feeling. It was a weight that settled deep, pressing harder with every breath. Because the truth is, once a secret like that is born, it doesn't fade. It lingers in every glance, every silence, every memory that resurfaces when you least expect it. I thought maybe I could carry it, bury it, pretend it wasn't there. But even in those first hours after, I knew better. This wasn't going away. It was only the beginning of something I wasn't ready to face. One night, one mistake, and nothing in my life has felt the same since. I replay it over and over in my head, wondering what I could have done differently, asking myself why I didn't stop things before they went too far. The truth is, some secrets are too heavy to carry, yet too dangerous to tell. It's strange how just a single moment can divide your life into before and after. Before that night, everything seemed simple, safe, ordinary. After that night, even the most ordinary moments feel like they're hiding something. A glance across the room, a silence that lingers too long, an inside thought that no one else knows about. It all feels different now. Sometimes I wonder if it was weakness, or if it was something deeper. Something I'll regret forever. Maybe it doesn't matter, because either way, the damage is already done. What do you think? Was it just a passing mistake, or something that will haunt me for the rest of my life? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one.